Okay guys, I've got an olive oil bottle that I am going to give a new life to. So I'm going to take some pieces of the paper bag that I used in my Leiper's fork frame video. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to link it in the description box so you can watch that. But I realized that I still had this piece of paper bag, and so I wanted to put it on this olive oil bottle that I had. I just liked the shape. I thought it was really cool. So I'm just taking pieces of the paper bag and I'm Mod Podging them on directly onto the bottle. And as you can see, they're not cut exactly. They're all torn, different sizes, different widths, different lengths. And as I'm working through my pieces, I'm looking at my sizes that I have and really just tearing them to fit. And you can also see here that I am not being exact with my placement or covering the glass per se. When I go to the top, I'm not going to try and match that round until a little bit later. You guys will see when we get further along, but I'm really just trying to focus on the bottom and use a little bit of Mod Podge and get it to adhere. I'm using my fingers to also press this paper bag into the glass directly. So that's what I've got working on here, and I'm tearing the pieces at the top again just to kind of make it work, but I'm not going for perfection. So when we get to the top of the bottle, you will see that I still have a lot of pieces of glass exposed, and that's what I want. I don't want it to look perfect. I want it to look, you know, layered and textured. So I'm really just going to fill in that section right there at the top with one last piece, but otherwise I'm going to leave those little gaps because it's going to look really cool. The next step is going to be to paint it. So I've got my chalk paint here, just using Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the color white. I'm only going to do one coat of this because I think it's going to look really cool to have the paper bag show through as well as the pieces of the glass. It's going to give 3 different looks essentially because you're going to show the white, a little bit of that paper bag showing through with the brown color as well as the deep color of the glass. So I'm just going around very lightly. I'm mixing as I go. I didn't shake this paint can before I started. I just stir it as I go and it works just fine. So that's, something that I do is I don't always shake my paint up. I'm just mixing it and it totally works. It's going to be fine. So just going around a light coat, not being too thick with the paint. I'm actually using my brush to remove a little bit of paint as I go through as well. And you'll see it. I'm going to go around the top. Sorry, there's not great video of that, but it is what it is. Y'all know I'm going to paint the top. So next I'm going to add some pieces of this faux tin tile that I got from the Dollar Tree. I cut it into strips because I realized it had these edges. The bottle had these edges that I thought were really cool. So I'm going to take these pieces of tin and use the adhesive that's on the back to just stick them onto the bottle directly. And if you notice here, you will see that it's in 2 layers. So I realized, okay, I've got to get this adhered to the bottom, and then I've also got to glue it so it doesn't end up looking separated. So I'm just making sure that adhesive sticks to the bottle really well. And then I'm going to come in here with my glue gun and just use regular hot glue. Nothing special, no permanent adhesive, anything like that. The glue gun worked just fine for this. And I'm just making sure that I press it down so that glue holds really well. So I've got that. And I'm going to do 2 of these on the bottle, but you could do as many pieces as you want. I think this would look really good on like a flat-faced bottle as well. Anything that you want to upcycle basically from your recycling bin. Take it out. If you like the shape of a bottle, just give it a new look. It's going to look great as a vase. So again, I've got my second piece here and I'm just pressing it down, lifting up that little edge, adhering it really well to that glass. It should stick. I haven't had any trouble with it not staying. And then going in here with my glue gun again, and you realize that a glue gun is super forgiving because you guys will see that you get a little bit of a grace period when you're working with the glue gun because you can see I flopped that down and I had to end up straightening it up. That's the awesome thing about a glue gun. You have a little time to correct a mistake. But that's what I've got. I used 2 pieces. I probably could have done more, but I ended up with 2. So now we're going to give this tin a new look. So I'm using Folk Art paint, the metallic paint in the color chocolate brown, and I'm also using Craft Smart paint in the color rose gold. Those two I love to use together. I feel like they give pieces a great texture, lowlights and highlights together. So I put those two together quite often. You're going to see me use them a whole lot. And I've got them on my little paint palette. You guys, I always use the lid of like a sour cream or a dip container to use my paint, mix my paint, or just have my little dabs of paint there. I think that works out really well. And it's a great way to use something, again, that would otherwise end up in the trash. So I'm just going in, I'm mostly dabbing on this piece of faux tin tile. I'm not using so many brush strokes because what I realized is this plastic is not taking the paint too well. So it probably is not really meant to be painted, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. We're just going to paint it and it's going to be fine. So I'm going to end up doing that, and I've got that going on here, just trying to capture all those details. And I'm really just working one color at a time. And what you're going to see is when I go in with the next color here and start to work with this rose gold, I dab my brush a little bit and I started to work on the rose gold, but I realized it's not showing up like at all. So I ended up having to go with a clean dry brush, and I just went in and started using that because otherwise you weren't going to see the change in color until I got a different brush. So normally I would not change my brush, but in this case it did not work out the way I thought, so I ended up having to just change the brush, go in with a dry, clean brush, and that ended up working much better because then you can actually see the highlights of the piece. And I'm going, for the most part, I'm trying to hit the raised points on this tin and really just try to bring out the beautiful texture. So that's what I have, and I think it turned out really good. I'm pretty excited with the way that this piece ended up. So I didn't get video of this, y'all, but I ended up adding some embellishments to the top, just gluing around the top. So I have it styled here just with some lamb's ear greenery in the top. You could put anything you wanted because, again, it's so neutral. It'll work with any decor, any time of year. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and so happy I was able to take a piece that would have been in the trash and made something beautiful. Thank you so much for watching.